So, welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success stories series of interviews, where we discuss with local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes, their challenges, and what's really driving them forwards. And this afternoon, I'm delighted to have with us Jonty Warneken, who's a local businessman, entrepreneur. Uh, so, Jonty, perhaps if you'd be kind enough to introduce yourself first, what you do, how you help people, and the organisations that you run and support.
Well, thank you, Chris, for having me. And yeah, my name is Jonty Warneken. I do a variety of different things. Probably on the paid role, I've worked in wealth management, private banking, investment bank management, IFA, whatever the current phrase is, for the last 25, 30 years since I crashed my car, which no doubt we'll probably get onto. And I'm just in the process with a couple of old city pals of pulling out a business from a holding company in the city of London, and we're going to be expanding their services. And it's called Leaf Bridge, and it's going to be focusing on managing money for super high net worths, with a specialism for US non-residents, non-dom US citizens, either here or Switzerland or abroad, basically outside of the US. So
Oh,
that's what
fascinating.
I do for the day job.
Yes.
I'm also the non-exec chairman of e-marketing, which I know you know, Emily,
Yep.
which I thoroughly enjoy. It's really lovely working with the younger generations and seeing just how good they actually are.
Yep.
Because I think a lot of the times they get a bad press, and the ones that I come across are exceptional. They really are. In fact, we've just got back from Italy. They were filming and doing the digital marketing for the International Ice Swimming Association, where I'm one of the two vice presidents. We had our European Ice Swimming Championships. We arrived back Sunday, and Emily and Sean were out there doing all of our digital marketing, videoing, and all of that, and producing some most wonderful content. And they just work so hard. As I said, they effervesce in what they do. So,
I
I'm
love
very lucky
that.
to do that. I sit on the board of ice swimming, and I also sit on the board of the World Open Water Swimming Association as well, which is more to do with the longer distances, the channels, and that
Right.
sort of thing. And I'm also trustee of two local charities, the Yorkshire Dales Rivers Trust, which looks after the tributaries and the major rivers of Yorkshire, the Yorkshire Dales.
Oh, wonderful.
And I sit on as a trustee of Open Country, a wonderful charity that enables disabled people to go out and experience the countryside, and not just by showing them it and then putting them back in the van. They do, they clear paths, plant trees, they go tandem biking, they just do. It's just a great charity,
Wonderful.
sometimes known as Harrogate's best kept secret. So I do that as well.
Well, I guess, yeah. I mean, as we spoke beforehand, I live just outside Harrogate, and I'm not aware of it. So,
Look him up. We always
yeah,
need
no, I will
help.
do.
It's a brilliant charity.
It's wonderful, as you say, because I mean, we live in such a beautiful part of the world, and to get out, that we all deserve to be able to get out and access
Yeah.
such wonderful places. So, goodness, that's a hell of a list of current activities. How, how do you manage to juggle so many plates?
I don't have children. Seriously, I suspect it's as simple as that. I don't have children. My wife's very, allows me to do this. Um, and yeah, I'm very good. I seem to be very good at compartmentalizing my life, so I can chop from one thing to another. If we weren't talking, I'd probably be answering an email about swimming on one phone and answering an email about investment management or what we're going to do on another. I just be able to
Brilliant.
chop and change. But that does have a downside, of course, where my ability on detail can sometimes be somewhat lacking.
Yes, yeah, no,
Horses for
absolutely.
courses.
Uh, we do, I mean, I've in what I do quite a lot on sort of behavioural profiling and the way people think and operate. And yeah, benefits typically have challenges come with them.
Yeah.
There are very few people that can sort of work across a whole broad of big picture, tiny detail, etc. There's one or two, but not many. So,
Mm.
Jonty, perhaps we could start by looking back, and perhaps you could talk a little bit more about your background. It's obviously been fascinating journey so far, but how you got into business and why you're doing what you're doing right now.
Right. So all I ever wanted to do from the age of 7 was play rugby for my country and be in the military, and preferably flying. And to cut a long story short, when I was 22, I got medically discharged out of Santos, the Royal Military Academy.
Yep.
I was playing rugby at a really high level, and then I got medically discharged back in the July, and then in November I crashed my beloved MGB Roadster. And I spent 6 months in hospital in Harrogate and St James's. And I came out having had my head rebuilt, my right ankle rebuilt, and I lost my left leg below the knee. So that really put pay to any form of flying career or continue to play rugby. And I needed a job. And luckily, when I crashed the car, I was coming back from an interview with the old Prudential Insurance Society to be the man from the Pru, and they very kindly allowed me to do that, albeit delayed a year. So I joined. I think I came out of hospital on June on my mother's 50th birthday, and I started with the Pru that December, doing what was then financial consultancy as the man from the Pru, which probably a lot of the generations younger than us won't understand, but they were sort of the best of the sort of the door insurance people. And then I got sort of headhunted to go and work at Deloitte's in their wealth management department, doing regulated financial advice for Deloitte. Well, there's then Deloitte and Touche private clients in Leeds. And then I worked at an investment house in Leeds. And then I went to London at the age of 28 to help set up a private wealth management division at a small international private bank, which was just fabulous. And there did that, designed the software. I didn't code it because I'm not a coder. And we did everything. And then I ended up running the internet bank and reporting to the head of super yacht finance. So I used to get dragged off to the Monaco Yacht Show every year because we were the biggest lenders on super yachts outside of the US. Um, and then we got sold to the Qataris. And I set up with two other guys a high risk structured products business using leveraged currency. And we did various other interesting things. And then 2008-9 came, Lehman Brothers, the world blew up.
Yeah.
Um, the business just didn't exist. And then I sort of potted around, still trying to do some private equity fundraising. And then it just made sense from a family point of view to come back to Yorkshire because we were still living down south.
Yeah.
So I came back to be run Sanlam's Harrogate office, which is an investment business, ran the region, did the same at Brooks Macdonald, got made redundant there, got asked to come back to Atomos, and then I got made redundant last year, which I sort of knew was coming. But in the meantime, after that, my buddies in London had contacted me and say, "Hey, we're looking to do this. Come and join us," because we always wanted to work together again. So we've been working on that for the past however months. But in the meantime, obviously being the non-exec chairman, doing all my ice swimming and open water swimming stuff, charity stuff, and I've written 3 books as well to keep myself sharp. So yeah,
Oh my goodness.
as I said, I have a low tolerance for. I have a very low boredom tolerance.
Blimey, what a story. That's quite incredible. All those things. I was going to ask you something. I mean, obviously, what makes us often is the challenges we overcome, and I'm guessing you described 2 or 3 there quite early on in your life that must have been
Yeah.
quite significant challenges for you then. How did you overcome? What was your mental state to overcome those sorts of challenges at that point?
Well, funny enough, this is what the books I've written are all about, is how did I get to and how do
Oh,
I
brilliant.
basically how do I think? I call it take one step. Um, and I realized very quickly lying in hospital that I made the decision to have my leg off. And I knew that was it. I knew that was all my hopes and dreams of being in the military, flying, playing rugby was going to be done. But it was the right decision. It was a decision of the head, not of the heart.
Yeah.
So that's a fundamental, sliding doors moment in anyone's life
Yes.
for those that remember the film with Gwyneth Paltrow. But I knew certain things. I knew that saying "what if" wasn't a good idea. Looking back is never a great idea, and on things like that. Um, my dad gave me one of the best pieces of advice that I would give anyone, especially today's youth who are struggling to get into a career, which is it's always easier to get a job when you're in a job. So basically, just get a job. And then if it's not the career you want to, it's a lot easier to sidestep into the career that you wish. Um, and so I did that. And I just kept moving. I just took one step every time. And I knew I was going to have to suffer painful stuff that I still do today. I wouldn't have done anything that I do without suffering. Suffering is a part of my life and it's just an accepted part. It is what it is, as I say quite a lot. Um, and that's what it was. It was just take one step. Let's see where it goes. And then I say yes a lot to new experiences because
Brilliant.
it's fun. So, that's how I've probably ended up where I am.
Amazing. Take one step.
And that's what all the books are about. That's
Oh,
what they're called.
wonderful.
Take one step. Yeah.
Oh,
And there's
I
one
will
for
look to read them.
teenagers, adults, and I've just finished off the one for sort of retirements, retirees, and that type of thing.
Oh, great! I look forward to reading them, and I know you've sent over some information about that
Yeah.
one. Yeah. We'll if, with your permission, we'll put on the bio for the interview if that's okay, so other people
Yeah,
can.
yeah. I've got to get them published first. That's the next. That's the
Oh,
next job. But
mate,
we'll get there.
I don't think getting it published is going to be the issue with a man that's achieved what you've achieved. I think that's a done deal already.
Yeah. It's a whole new world. It is a whole new world. It's a funny old game, isn't it? And I'm just sort of dabbling in it at the moment because I've been obviously being busy. But it is an interesting world. And again, I think it's another one of those things that I want it to happen tomorrow or yesterday, and
Yep.
that's not how the world of publishing works. And people might like my ideas, but not like the way I write or something. So, it's a whole new learning curve, which I love it. It keeps me fresh. It keeps me interested in life, and it's another challenge to get.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, I wouldn't want to be the publisher that says no to you. I have to say. So
Yeah.
we'll see that. If it helps, I mean, one of the great things being part of my organisation, we come across quite a lot of interesting partners, and I know we're partnered with I know, I think it's an American organisation, but they take people through a process of self-publishing
Yeah,
to
that'll
cut
be
through.
interesting. Yeah,
You might be aware. I'll
thank you.
send you information later. But so right, so through all of those things, take the first step. It's interesting. I was interviewing somebody recently, and one thing she said was the art of the art of if you want to start, the art of starting is to start, something like
Correct.
that. They're just like
Yeah,
yeah, just move on. And
yeah,
so obviously, and you mentioned obviously pain and sacrifice have been part of your life a lot.
yeah.
And is it a coincidence or not because incidents you're in the ice water swimming association? I mean, is that doesn't come across as being the most. I think ultimately it's pleasure I get, but
Yeah, it hurt. I mean, we always say, just going on what you've just said about the lady, the hardest thing we do is get into the water. It
yes,
is, it is, it is. We were swimming in Italy. It was 1.4 degrees Celsius. We don't wear wetsuits. We're racing, between 50 meters and 100 and 1K. It is a tough gig getting into the water, especially when it was snowing. Like I think day one, day two, we were snowing, so the outside temperature's pretty cold and as well. So it's the ability to suffer is, I think, is something that I have had. Whether I've learned it, I think I said somewhere else that I probably did learn it, or you learn that you can do it. It maybe is a more accurate
yes,
reflection. But pain and suffering is everything. Is it pain, suffering, boredom? And I talk to the kids, when I give talks and stuff like this about boredom, and the boredom of the only way to be good at anything is to accept that boredom will be a huge, a huge part of that, whether you're studying for exams, practicing a musical instrument, or learning lines, or in the gym behind me training for whatever I've decided to do next. It's pretty lonely, cold, and boring and
yeah,
painful. Well, welcome
yes.
to life. Accept it.
Yeah, well, yeah, yes, yeah. No, I think that is a big learning for anyone, isn't it? It does come as part of
Yeah.
the territory, but depending on what you choose to
What do you
achieve.
want to achieve? Yeah.
And obviously we're primarily a sort of business coaching organisation. I'm keen to know what the biggest learnings you've got about growing successful businesses. You've obviously had several experiences. What some of the tips you could give people
I
what
think the first one is, I mean, I say this about sport as well, but I think the first one I've said to the youngsters is to find ordinary people who do extraordinary things. And because you're going to learn that those people, one, they will bring you into their sphere of what good looks like and what is a set standard. Well, we all think, whether it's business, sport, or whatever, that this is good enough. And then you meet people who are just so much ahead of you, and you go, that's actually the new standard. That's the game. That's the level I need to. That's the minimum I need to be getting at. And those people, and I'm not talking about footballers or the likes of Elon Musk or those geniuses, because you'll never get close to them. Just find the local businessmen and businesswomen who just have really good, successful businesses. And usually they're the first ones to tell you, A, how they did it, B, the mistakes they made, and C, what mistakes they wish they'd learned, that they had been told when they were younger to be successful. So that would be my first one. And the second one is, if you're young, do it. because you've got plenty of time to make mistakes and make mistakes and make mistakes, and that's great.
Yes.
And the third one would be, cash flow, and cash is king,
Yeah.
which I think everyone's has always said. You can't don't spend money you don't have. It's a lot easier to spend money at the end if you've got it than to actually have to find the money that you don't have to pay a bill. So
Yeah.
manage your cash flow,
Makes lots of sense. That middle point reminds me of our founder once told me that he believed he was as successful as he was, and he's a very successful guy, as successful as he was because he'd made more mistakes than anybody else he knew,
Yeah,
rather than despite it. It was the willingness to try
yeah.
something
I
and,
think it was
and fail.
Edison. They tried 1,000 times to make a
Yes.
light bulb. It's like, we all make huge mistakes. The trick is to just get back up and keep going forward and going, somewhere I know out there is the solution. I will be success. But can be a grind, and it can be painful, and it can be depressingly miserable when everything's going in not the way that you want it to. But if you just keep taking one step, keep going, you know, as Churchill said, if you're going through hell, keep going.
It's a great quote, isn't it? It's sort of like,
Great quote.
what else would you do? But I mean, I think
No point in
there are.
stopping.
Yeah, well, it's interesting how it's unfortunately quite interesting how many people do stop, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Is and that's where they are. But yeah, just keep going. I'm not. I'm not a film buff. I like films. It's probably one of the media I love. And there's a great. And forgive me for lowering the tone, but there's a line from the Rocky film where he said it's not how hard you can hit, it's how hard you can be hit and still keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's taking the blows, isn't it?
Taking the blows and getting back up.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And obviously, you've got a sport. If you mentioned your sporting background in the early years, I think we're a business coaching organisation. I'm just keen to know who the
Yeah.
best coaches you've worked with, whether that was business, sport, or life in general. Who's had the biggest impact on you?
I've got, it's a really interesting thing. I think the coaches that have really made the put the markers and where I've had a step change for positive in my life, and some of my swim coaches and my buddies who run swim businesses. Pauline Squires was the first one to suggest I could swim an I Smile and the English Channel. And I hadn't recognized that in myself. I just thought I was just I was a rugby player who could swim. I wasn't a swimmer who played rugby. I was, but she said, you're built to swim channels and you can do the I Smile. And no disabled person had done the I Smile at that stage. And so that's what we trained to do. And I did it. I became the first para world para to do it.
Wow.
And then my buddy Leon Fryer and his team. But Leon, I was training for an Ironman in lockdown, and then my right ankle is literally in pieces, and it got so bad with lockdown, I had to keep running, obviously because we didn't know when lockdown was going to finish, to be in decent nick to try one when we came out, and my ankle hurt so much. I went to see my ankle consultant in London, who's luckily the best guy, pretty much I suspect in Europe, Northern Hemisphere, does all the footballers and rugby players. And he looked at me, and I won't say what he said because I've got to keep it polite, but basically told me to stop running now. And I was like, no, what about after my Ironman? He went, no, now. And I came out and I rang my wife, and she came down to the lake with me then the next couple of days. And Leon said, I've got a present for you when you come out of the lake. And I thought you may have a piece of cake and a cup of tea. And he said to me, you're swimming Windermere in 2 weeks' time. And I was like, no way. I've been training to swim 2 miles, not 10.5 miles. He says, no, you can do it. And it's recognizing that. And I went and did it. I had the biggest mood when we started because I just didn't want to do it. But they saw something, Pauline and Leon saw things in me, capability that no one else has seen. And they said, you can do this. And I talk to, when I go back to the books, I say to the youngsters, mirrors lie. One of the chapters I write is about mirrors lying, is that, what I see in the mirror about me, I see all my faults, all the blemishes, everything that's wrong with me. It's other people that see what's right for you. My friend Pat
Yes.
Cook Rogers, she said to me coming out of the lake once, and she's like, I think Pat may be near, forgive me, Pat, she might be nearly 70 now. She is very religious and does ultra marathons in the Arctic, in the snow, up in Canada, and there she will ride 300-400 miles on a snow fat bike. She said to me, "You could come and do these. You like skiing, you like the cold, come and do them." And so it's people like that that go, you can do this. It's people who recognize the talent in you to
Yes,
say, you've got this. It may be a long and arduous journey, and let's face it, we all suffer on this in these games. But they say you can do this, and it gives you that that confidence and belief. If you trust your friends and your coaches to go, okay, I will gladly go on this because I want to do it. And someone's actually said, yeah, I think you can do it. So it's probably then that I've had the biggest, Leon, Pauline, and Pat, who've had that biggest step change of letting the shutters and expanding what I am actually capable of doing in the
amazing.
sporting arena.
Amazing. It's very much a principle that I believe in from a coaching perspective. That our job is our job is not to tell people what to do; it's to help them find their way through. But
Yeah,
but the belief that everyone's already got everything inside them they need to achieve whatever they want to achieve.
yeah,
Our job is just to help them realise that. And I
yeah.
think that was a great sort of example of that, isn't it? Is that other people are seeing in you that ability. So what do you look what does it look like when you? Who do you see when you? If I can ask that question, who do you see when
Yeah,
you look in the
absolutely.
mirror?
I probably still see that, yeah, that little slightly lost schoolboy, if I'm being honest with you, who just, in some respects, I still have a joy of life, that joy of life and all of that, where I don't take myself too seriously. I take what I do very seriously, but as I compartmentalize my life, so I can go from something extremely, extremely serious and literally within a second be joking about it and then switch back because it's serious. We're talking about something serious. So I still see that, and I think but what I have now than what I didn't have is this core that I can pretty much do. If I want to do it enough, I can do any endurance challenge that I want to do that I'm prepared to risk. My ultimate dream is to ski to the South Pole with a Palomine. I will do that. My
Brilliant.
wife's banned me from some of the craziest stuff. I'm not allowed to climb high mountains. There's a there's a swim out in San Francisco that only 6 people have done. She won't let me do that because of the shark issue. Um, but I could do it. It'll be a good final big swim for me. Um, so that's what it's given me. It's given me a confidence to think I can do this. If I train well, get my diet right. I signed up to do a 100-mile bike ride in Colorado in August. Most of it is above 10,000 feet and it's got 12,000 feet of climbing. And I'm currently still in my channel body, ice body, and I need to drop 2.5, 3 stone and get super bike fit. Well, I think I can do it, and I'd have a damn good go at it now I'm back from Italy. It's time to switch. It's that sort of confidence that goes,
Yes.
I think I can do this. And I always say to the kids or anybody, the goal is to complete this, not to compete. If you put competition as your primary thing, whether it's business or sport, there's only one winner and then everyone else is disappointed. If your job is just to be to complete it, you will be surprised at how successful, how much enjoyment, how much
Yes.
satisfaction that you will get. You can only be one Apple. There's only one Apple in this world. There's only one Microsoft. But there are thousands of really fabulous tech businesses out there
Yeah.
where people are really competent, happy, content with what they have produced. Be like that. Don't measure yourself against anybody else. Just be content and go, I want to got this business idea. I'm going to take it to this level. That's great. And be content with that. And if you're the best of the best of the best and you grow into Apple, brilliant. But don't make that your goal because there's only ever going to be one winner. You're going to set yourself up for a life of disappointment.
Yes. No, it makes perfect sense. It brings me. We work. We do a lot of work on our coaching capability as well as our sort of business side skills and strategy and stuff. So we associate with quite a few people from the sporting world, and we're very closely connected with a guy called Frank Dick, who's been an athletics coach for sort of
Yeah.
since the 80s. He coached Daley Thompson
Yeah, yeah.
when he was competing for the decathlon. And there's a lovely story, and it's a little video of him talking about a little girl that asked him to coach her, and he watches a race, and she comes last, and she says, "I've come last," and he said, "No, you haven't. You've come 19 seconds."
Yeah.
And she says, "What do you mean?" She said, "Well, that's your," and he talks about that's your personal best. That's a world record for you,
Yeah.
and just that. So he says that so next time when she does 18 seconds, she's she's going to be celebrating, and it's about I guess you've taught. I guess there must be a big personal challenge of just being better than we have been yesterday.
Well, one of the mottos I go by, it happens to be my old school motto, but I genuinely believe in it, and my old school motto is in Old French, which is "quand je puis," which is as much as I'm able. And if you do as much as you're able, it just knocks away any comparison. It's like I get given a set of cards in life to play, as do you. I get some, I can take some away, give some back, but it's basically like poker. Some of the cards you get are pretty awful. Some of mine were, especially at 22. But as long as I maximize that, there is no comparison because, I may not be the best, I may not be the strongest, I may not be the fittest, I may not be the most handsome, I may not be the richest. But as long as I maximize everything that I have been given to the thing, that's what it's about. And it means I don't have to, I don't really have to care too much about how you, Chris, if you're swimming next to me in the ice on the 50-meter free, your time is actually irrelevant. What matters is I've done absolutely everything I can to be as quick as I can through that water. If I win, brilliant. But as long as I've done absolutely everything, then that is satisfaction just there. And that
Love
to
it.
me is it. So I talk about Corn Chapuis as much as I'm able, quite a lot to myself. It's like, can I do that little bit more? Which is probably why I do all the things that I do, because I have time or the ability and using technology to do it all. So why
Yeah,
wouldn't I?
yeah, absolutely. I'm remembering there's a the High Performance Podcast. I think the guy Jake Humphreys and I'm trying to think of the guy, but they interviewed Jonty Wilkinson for one of their podcasts, and
Yeah.
and and he was talking about excellence, and obviously they were focusing in on especially the excellence of goal kicking, etc. But he had talked about that he'd taken that into his life, so and they couldn't believe that he takes as much pleasure now from doing the dishes excellently as he ever did
Yeah.
kicking a rugby ball, and it was just really fascinating that whatever he does, he wants to do it to the best of his ability.
Yeah.
Absolutely
That's all you
fascinating.
can do. It is all you
Yeah,
can do in life.
yes, yeah,
Yeah. Everyone beats themselves up about it. It's like, guys, you can only do the best.
yeah.
You just hope that one of the things you do is you're the best in your region, age group, whatever, and if that makes you happy, that is absolutely fabulous. But as long as you've done everything, hand on heart, when you look in the mirror to shave or put your makeup on, that you've done everything you can to prepare for whatever you're undertaking. That's all you can ask. You can ask for nothing less, nothing more.
I absolutely agree. I'm just trying to think this sort of this is the word juxtaposition. I'm just trying, but you've decided your best is way better than most people would probably want to go. Like you just
No,
mentioned the cycle race. You
no,
mentioned you said I can do it. Now most
I can do it. That's all because as an amputee, I just have to complete. I did the least triathlon, the full one, because I don't do para stuff because that's another whole story. And I'm doing the full triathlon. I think I was the only para there. And I probably got as many, if not more, pats on the backs, on the bum, whilst I was running around or limping around than the winners did. Why? Because I showed up and said, I'm going to do this. My time was irrelevant. It's just like I'm prepared to do the one with everyone else. That's all you need to do. So I completed it. I don't have to compete in it. Though I am competitive in the ice. I want to beat my age groups, para or not. We race all together in the ice. I think in one of the races there was me and five other or six other able-bodied guys my age. I was racing an ex-Olympian, my friend Henry. So what? Just so what? Just get in and race. That's all you have to
love it.
do. Brilliant.
Absolutely. Just show up, take part, do your best.
Do your best.
Brilliant.
Simple.
I mean, we've talked about quite a few, great quotes. Any other favourite quotes we haven't talked about that you catch yourself using a lot?
Oh, well, there's one that I get told off for using, but it's one from from open water swimming. When you're doing the long distance stuff like the channels and that, people just look at you, and if you start complaining, because it is cold and miserable and boring, people just look at you and go, suck it up, buttercup, because you've put yourself in this situation. No
Yes.
one else did. And if you want to get to the other side, you're going to have to just suck it up. And I think some respects we're afraid of saying that in modern society, that you're just going to have to suck it up because it's take one for the team. It's going to hurt. It's going to be boring. yes, jellyfish sting, they do hurt. But if you want, there's a bigger picture at the end of that achievement. And if you want to achieve, at some point, you're going to have to dig in and
Yeah,
suffer. And that's what suck it up, bucket cup really means. It's like dig in and suffer.
yeah,
No one particularly likes to be doing 2 hour training sessions on a Saturday night down in my gym or whatever, or getting up on a early on a Saturday morning to be in a lake at 7 o'clock in the snow and the water's 3 Celsius. But if you want the bigger and more fun stuff, and the if you want your star to shine brighter, you have to put in that time. And part of that is a bit of suffering, whether it's boredom, pain, all of the above. You know,
yes.
just suck it up.
Suck it up. Just get going. Do your best. Suck it up. I'm liking this.
Yeah.
I, I mean, you've talked a lot. You've talked a lot about how you think and stuff, but and which has been really valuable. What would you say you've learnt about yourself throughout your journey so far, Jonty?
I think I've learned. I think the first thing I've learned is I'm actually quite happy in my own skin. I'm quite happy with who I am, what I am. Yeah, I have faults, and there's certain parts of my personality that I don't particularly like. But I'm comfortable with that, and I try and change it, but there's a lot of things that you can't. So I'm quite happy with that. Um, Obviously, I'd like to be more successful, but I think we all would, and it's not out of competition. It's I just like to achieve what I've set out to achieve. So with this new business, we have this where we think we want to get to, and I just hope that we can get there. And there's a lot of different, there's a lot of things outside of our control that may or may not enable us to do so, but it won't be for the want of preparation, trying and doing all of that. So I'm quite happy with that thing. And I think the other one which I also tell people is, do not expect in business everyone to like you, because they're just not going to. It's just, if you turn up to a meeting and, we're all salespeople at the end of the day, everyone's sales, and that person doesn't get on, you know when they do and you know when they don't.
Yeah,
Don't beat yourself up. Just go, do you know what? Hand it on to one of your colleagues and go, this is never going to work for me. We just don't rub well. You take it. And that's the whole thing about having a team. A team, going back to the
yes,
Johnny Wilkinson, if you had a rugby team made up of 15 Johnny Wilkinsons, you wouldn't win a rugby match.
yes,
Everyone needs to have that complementary skill set, and attitude and how they look at life. And so just be honest about that and go, do you know what? I do not get on with this person. I think you'll be better. Go in. And that, I think is something that maybe the youngsters need to just appreciate, is that not everyone's going to love you in business
yeah,
or love your business. You may think you're the best thing in sliced bread, but they're just not. And I get it. Some people don't like me. It doesn't bother me. There's plenty that do and there's plenty that don't. I'm
brilliant.
too old and ugly to care.
Absolutely, it's like, yeah, no, that's okay. Um, and yeah, and so you mentioned obviously a few things that are going on at the moment. What does the future look like for you guys, and what challenges do you think you might face looking forwards?
So business wise, in financial services, managing money, investment management, doing what we do, we're a small team. We've got a decent track record that we're going to take from the old business, but it's the usual thing. It's finding the right clients that like us, understand what we do, and appreciate what we do, and getting them to entrust us with them.
Yes,
Probably the second most important thing in their lives after their family is probably their money.
yeah,
And that's a big ask. That is a big ask. And there are a lot of, there are much bigger players out there. I'm not going to say they're better, because in some respects I don't think they are. I think the way the industry has gone, we're more nichey. We can definitely do more bespokeness than what the big houses can do now, because they won't let them. But it's getting that message over, and making sure we find the right people who will buy into our solution. Not everyone will like the way we run money. That's totally fine. There isn't always just
yes,
one way to do this. There are a lot of different ways to achieve the same goal. So, that's one of the big things. I think going back to the ice swimming, I would love it that we get the sport to the Winter Olympics. I think the swimmers definitely want it, and all the board still swim. From the chairman Ram Barkai, who's the founder, who came up with this idea, Peter Stoichev, arguably with the world's greatest open water swimmer, Joe Mattis. No one swam more ocean miles than Joe and his brother John. Susan from New Zealand, Francois, who runs Professor, who swims and runs the Davos Foundation. This is what we want to do. We want to take this sport to the Winter Olympics. We think we're good enough. We deserve it. We've had 17 years of putting on world-class competitions, world championships, European championships, national championships. So that would be a really good, when I'm sitting in my rocking chair smoking my pipe and having a glass of whiskey, looking back and achieving that would be superb. And it would be superb for the swimmers. The swimmers will love it. The audience will love it, and those of us who have been there pretty much from the start will have done something, I think, really, really good. Really, really good.
Wonderful.
So that'd be good. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I certainly wish you every success in both those endeavours for now, because
Thank
I'm
you.
sure, and I have speaking plainly, I have very little doubt that you won't achieve them, or that won't do what you need to do to make that happen, because you've decided. Yeah, you've decided. I'm sure once you've decided, if you've already decided you will, it's going to happen. It's a bit. Um,
Yeah.
Final question,
Yeah.
just a little one, is what, looking back, what would be the best advice you could give an 18-year-old you if you could go back in time and do that, Jonty?
Well, I'll tell you what it wouldn't be, and that is to drive more carefully around the corner so I didn't crash my car. Because quite frankly, I've had such a great life since I did that. It would be wrong of me to say. I mean, do I
Yeah,
regret? Would I like to have kept my life? Yeah, of course I would, because I think I may be able to have even done more, extreme things. But it wouldn't be that. I think it's the advice I'd give any 18-year-old would be to have confidence in your capability. Let's face it, most old people are still winging it at life. We're still like, take lockdown. None of us experienced. I said to my team when I said, guys and girls, I've never done this before. We're totally winging this because we've never had this. And yes, I may
yes,
be whatever age I was, 48, 49, 50. But we're winging this, and I think 18-year-olds should realize that a lot of time that the adults are winging it as well. It's
yeah,
just that we've got a larger data set to maybe make a more refined decision at the end of the day. So understand that and go for it. Have that inner confidence to say, I think I can do this. Be very careful with your cash flow and do not go out and start spending money you don't have or you haven't earned or hasn't arrived, all of that. But back yourself because I still think that this country is the country of SMEs, owner managed business that produce some fabulous world class technology products, whatever. That's what this country does, and we have a history going back to the dawn of time that we do that. So that's what I would say to any 18-year-old, mine included. Back yourself, start that business earlier.
love it, 100%. Jonty, it's been absolutely fascinating talking to you, and I really appreciate your openness and sharing so much about your life and the things that have gone on. And for anyone that's watching, would like to get in touch with you about any of the any of the projects you're working on at the moment, what's the best way of doing that?
Uh, I'm well, being non-exec chairman of e-marketing. I'm on Instagram,
Good man.
Facebook. I have a web page. So I have, my web page is warneken.com. My email is jonty@warneken.com because I'm a prop forward, so we've got to keep it simple.
Good
I'm
man.
on Instagram, Facebook. Ping me a message. I do talks. It's all there. That's how. And there's only one family of Warneken, so there's one of us will know me.
Wonderful, wonderful. Maybe we can tempt you to come and do a talk at one of our events at some point. I
I
would
would
love
love
that.
to.
Yeah,
I would
I would
love to.
honestly love that. That's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, look, yeah, as I say, and again, maybe we could swing by another 6 to 12 months and just see the progression of
Yeah.
those things we've
See where
talked
we got
about.
to.
But
Yeah.
for now, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
Thank you.